Hi, do you know what today's thought? I'm recording this on Monday, the day before you're seeing it, which would be, if I recall, let me think, day after Monday. I think that's Tuesday. Correct me if I'm wrong. But whatever day it is, it seems to be some more of the same old. Ever since that debate between Biden and Trump, Democrats have been in, a little bit of a problem there, a little bit of a pickle. You've been seeing more. As well, there was a telephone meeting or a Zoom meeting between or among Hakeem Jeffries and some other Democrats, especially House Democrats such as Gerald Nadler, very prominent House Democrats. They were, the consensus is growing that Biden should drop out, and Biden made a phone call into Morning Joe, MSNBC, and reiterated that he's not going anywhere. And now he's kind of over the phone starting, I guess this is his strategy, campaign against elites, that they should not, what they're talking about now is, a blitzkrieg primary. In other words, to hold another primary where other candidates could run, and then there would be a quick vote, I guess, before the convention, which is coming up in only a few weeks, to nominate somebody else. In other words, have the kind of, this is a pickle of their own brining, because what they could have done, I'm recording a few minutes before I'm recording this. Andrew Yang, he's a former Democratic presidential candidate, you may recall, and he was just being interviewed, and he said that, this is, as I just said, it's a problem of the Democrats' own making, because if you think back, during the primaries, Biden refused to debate. Now, if he had debated, was Yang's point, with which I agree, then what you saw in that debate, you would have seen months ago when the primaries were happening, and Biden very likely would, if it was the same in those debates as he was in that, same during the primary, a primary debate had that happen as he was in the debate with Trump, then very likely, or at least there's a good chance that he would not be the candidate today. So they blew it. That's what they've been doing all along. They've been propping up Donald Trump, and now they have, and then the press, which is what I'm going to get to in a moment, the press, the liberal press, which is most of the press, were propping him up and hiding his condition. And it's just very funny. They are shocked. By the way, that shock, that's from a famous scene in Casablanca. Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman. I assume everybody's seen it. And if you haven't seen it, then shame on you. And I would even say, turn off this video and go watch Casablanca, because it's really a great movie. It's one of those movies that wasn't supposed to be a great movie. I understand that Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman were laughing all through the filming, when they were not doing a scene because of the dialogue. It's if you just read the script, it's kind of a potboiler. But when you have Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, I'm getting off the track here. Just go see Casablanca and you'll know what I mean when I say, if you haven't seen it, when I say shocked. And now they are shocked, the press is, to see this Biden's condition, which is nonsense, because we were all seeing it months and months ago, and we saw the cover up, the press covering for him. The press was just covering him, and now suddenly they're shocked. Why? Because America saw what the press has been trying to hide, and they can't hide it anymore. That's the only reason they're suddenly kind of turning on Biden, and because his condition has been exposed to where the press cannot cover it up again. But had Biden not challenged Trump to a debate, had that debate not happened, the press would still be covering for him. Let's not fool ourselves. And in a way, which is what I'm getting to today, is they're still covering for him, because the Democrats are now scrambling for a way. They want to get Biden off the ticket. They don't want him to run, and he is insisting that he is going to run. He's not going anywhere. He keeps saying it repeatedly. How do they? There's talk about the 25th Amendment, which can only be invoked by the vice president and a majority of the cabinet. And then it would have to go, if Biden still doesn't want to go, then it would have to go to Congress, and both houses would have to vote 2/3. You need a 2/3 vote. You would need a 2/3 vote in both houses in order to oust Biden. So the chances are, number one, of it happening at all, number two, of it happening in time, that's very, very small. So they're wondering if he won't go. They're hoping, I guess, that the campaign dollars would dry up, and then they would not have any money coming in. Then he can't run his campaign, and he's stuck with the money that he has, which is nothing to sneeze at. I think it's $200-something million. But still, there would not be any more. And if you have Democrats publicly speaking against him, but you'll reach a point where they have no choice, and he is the candidate for sure, and too late to get rid of him, they will suddenly be supporting him. The Democrats will, and it's going to be interesting to see what they say. Well, they say, well, he has dementia, but vote for him anyway because demented Biden is better than an intellectually alert Donald Trump. So that's one argument, and the other one is just to go back to gaslighting and say, well, he's improving, he's not so bad, and he's good, and they'll come out and really full-throatedly support him. That leaves the question, what are the Democratic voters going to do? And most important, what are independents going to do? So they're kind of stuck in a way. They're trying to figure out a way to get rid of him. And I'm here I don't usually do this, but I'm here to help them, because there is a way. There's a very simple way, which is just, number one, to be honest, and number two is for the press to be honest. And this is a chance, as I said in the title, this one little trick, they could get rid of him. It's very, very simple when you think about it, if the Democrats are willing to be honest, because we now see how the press has been. They have to admit finally that they have been, they're not really admitting that they've been covering up for him, but they have to now report what they were refusing to report because it has been exposed. But here's a chance where they can rehabilitate themselves, because the press, because they have been covering something else up, and they could wait for what they've been covering up to, which I'll get to in a moment, to be exposed, and then they would have to do a 180 and going back to Casablanca, be shocked of what they discovered that they knew all along but have been covering up. And but the chance for the press to rehabilitate themselves is not to wait for exposure, and just do the right thing, which is report the news. And what am I talking about? Maybe some of you already guessed, but if you haven't, there's a certain laptop that the Biden's son, Hunter, left at a repair shop, right? Everybody knows about it. And it was, the New York Post broke the story. The social media censored it. They wouldn't let anybody. Not only did Twitter at that time, not yet owned by, it was Twitter, not X, and not yet owned by Elon Musk. And not only did they close the New York Post account, so they could not post the story, they prevented anybody from even linking to it. Other people, if I would have linked to that story, then the tweet would have been taken down. Not that I go on Twitter that much, maybe 2 times a year, 3 times, I don't know, not very much. Anyways, they suppressed the story, and finally, years later, just recently, in little drips, the press has been, say Washington Post, New York Times, have had to admit that the laptop is authentic, and they can no longer deny that it's authentic because the government, the United States government, is using it in their prosecution of Hunter Biden. So there's no doubt that it's real, but they're still covering up. So number one, they admit that the laptop is real, but they're not covering the story. They're not covering, this is the important point, what is on the laptop. Now remember, you may have this might be on the back burner of your mind because the press is not reporting. They have not really been, except for Fox News to their credit, and maybe some other conservative websites or something, that there's an impeachment inquiry going on in the House by 3 committees. 3 committees are investigating the president, and they are uncovering evidence such as canceled checks. They are not, the press is not reporting it. They're just suppressing it. So if the press wants to work with the Democrats, or the Democrats could do it themselves, and the press, to start with the press, do your job. If you want to rehabilitate, well, that's, I guess, icing on the cake. They don't care if anybody trusts the press anymore, how many of us do anymore, but they could still, just for their own, I guess if they're Christians, they want to be sure to get into heaven, and they want to maybe repent their sins right now. So they could start reporting honestly start reporting on what's happening. And if they report to say, we're shocked to discover that Biden has been getting money from China. The press, when they question him, now they are starting to question the president about, should you take a cognitive assessment test? Should you get examined by a doctor? Is it time to maybe turn over the presidency to a younger person? Well, those are nice questions to ask. And he just says, screw you, I'm running. But why not ask him directly, is the Hunter laptop, is it real? Is it authentic? That's number one. They could add, and then they could start asking him about text messages and things. Well, the famous one where Hunter says he hits up a Henry Zhao in China for $5 million, and he says, you've probably heard about this. I'm sitting right next to my father right now. If you don't send me $5 million, or you're going to regret it. That's basically it. I'm not going to quote the whole thing. It's kind of lengthy, but that's basically it. And ask Joe Biden directly, did that happen? Well, were you in the room? Were you next to Hunter Biden? He says you were. Were you? And there's a photo of Hunter Biden and being at the president's house on that day, in Delaware. So why not ask him that? And then you could ask him on the laptop. There's a reference in a Chinese deal, 20%, 20 for Hunter, 10 held for the big guy. Are you the big guy? They could ask him those questions too and see what he says. But getting now to the bottom line, just to get rid of him, number one, that would really hurt the president, and it could end his candidacy if they just start reporting these things. That's number one. Do a special in prime time with James Comer, the chairman of one of the committees, the one who's been kind of the point person on this investigation, and just ask him questions. Let him speak. Let him tell us what you found, Representative Comer. So that would be one way. But another way would be to Democrats to come to, say, Hakeem Jeffries, ranking member, minority leader in the House, to go to, just come out and say, go to Mike Johnson, go to the Speaker of the House and say, we're with you. If you want to vote articles of impeachment against the president, we are with you. We will vote for that, and maybe get the president, or better yet, say it publicly, and then in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, well, they could say, well, if we get impeachment articles, yeah, we're required under the Constitution to hold the trial, and because he would be tried in the Senate. Or they could just privately say they could both go do what happened with Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was never impeached. He was over Watergate. He resigned before he could be impeached, and it was because the poobahs, important people in the Republican Party, went to Nixon at the height of Watergate and during the investigation and the hearings, which were televised, by the way. I saw them, and just say, Mr. President, Joe Biden, Mr. President, if you do not resign, then we are voting articles of impeachment, and the Senate will vote to remove you from office. So you can either go out and disgrace. Well, either way, he would be disgraced if he resigns under because of an impending impeachment. But that's your choice. You can resign, or you can be impeached and removed by the Senate. And then one way or the other, they would be rid of Joe Biden. They could do that. They have the power to do it right now. So none of this, and this is where some reports, the press could do this too. Ask Chuck Schumer, ask Hakeem Jeffries, ask these other people. Well, these are, meanwhile, you're talking about his mental condition, but there's this investigation going on, there's an impeachment inquiry. Have you been following that? Do you see any credibility to the charges? Is it not a fact that if you voted, if these charges are valid, would you vote? Well, is it worth investigating these charges? Will you work with the Republicans to investigate these charges? And if they turn out to be as if there's something there, then would you vote for impeachment? Ask Hakeem Jeffries. Would the Democrats vote? Because in the House, now, to remove him from office, you're going to need 2/3 vote in the Senate. But for the House, you just need a majority. So you need maybe, just to be sure, two Democrats to vote with the Republicans, if all the Republicans vote, and then you would have the impeachment would be done, and then it would go to the Senate, and they would have to hold a trial. And one way or the other, even if they vote not to remove him, well, see, that's the whole thing. What would the Senate do if they vote not to? If the votes aren't there to remove him from office? Well, it's still pretty damaging. Then he's the candidate, and the evidence will be adduced at the trial. So America will see all these. You're going to have several Republicans from the House will be on the floor of the Senate. The press the networks would have to broadcast it. And if they don't, it was certainly somebody on the internet would broadcast it, YouTube, whatever, and all the evidence would be adduced for the whole public to see. And then the Senate, how's that going to look if the evidence convinces the American public that Trump should be removed, and then the Senate doesn't remove him? So you see, at the end of the day, if the Democrats really, 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 really want to get rid of Biden, they can do it like that. And that's my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Comments always welcome below the video in the comments section. And share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.